Hi, I'm Richard from Hockey Tutorial, and today we're looking at Warrior's new line of sticks, the Alpha QX. First things first, a few features you'd expect from any top-of-the-line stick. This thing doesn't weigh anything, it's really responsive. The reason it doesn't weigh anything, it's made of the same minimus carbon fiber that we were using before in the QRL. Loads of information about that in the previous video, but basically aerospace level carbon fiber, super flat, really light. The reason this stick actually came to being was due to NHL players who were making aftermarket changes to the two previous models of sticks. The guys using QRL, some of them were finding the lower part of the stick was a little bit too soft when in the board battles and things like this. So they were getting a stiffer taper essentially put in afterwards, trying to move the kick point a little bit higher but preserve some of the shooting characteristics of the original QRL. Similarly, in the Dynasty, some players were finding that the mid kick point was a little bit too high and it was a little bit too unresponsive. So they were moving the kick point a little bit further down the stick by using a softer material in the middle of the stick, again, trying to make some sort of Frankenstein version of the Dynasty in order to suit their NHL clients. As an aside, if you're interested in where this information comes from, Warrior actually do a podcast. You can get it on SoundCloud. That's where I found out about the NHL players and other few gems that you'll be hearing later on in this video. So as I was saying, this stick was originally for NHL players, trying to fill a gap that Warrior didn't completely cover with their previous two lines of sticks. So the actual stick that was given to the first NHL player was given to Max Pacioretty. He took basically what was a prototype stick that was being tested by players at the University of Denver and the Air Force Academy. These players were basically getting a blank stick that they were using in testing just to see what worked and what didn't work. You can again find more information about this on the Warrior podcast. So down to the specs. It's a low kick point stick, not QRL low, but the taper is very, very long. The idea of this whole stick is the quick strike technology. By quick strike technology, it's not one individual thing. It's an idea that the whole stick is easy to load and quick release. They want this to be an easy loading stick with a really quick release. The Saber Taper, that's one of the new technologies, which is a funny shaped taper. Hopefully we'll get a graphic on screen about now, Chris. The Saber Taper is not a shape you'll have seen before in any stick that I'm aware of. The idea behind it is going to make the lower part of the stick very easy to load whilst maintaining torsional stiffness. You've probably heard of us talk about this in passing in the past. It's just to stop the blade opening up while you're shooting. It increases the precision of the stick. The less unnecessary movement you've got in the heel and the toe, the more accurate your shooting should be. So the next thing I noticed about this stick was a couple of technologies that worked really well together. One's their ergo shaft design. So it's basically a double concave or what they call a dog bone style shaft design. If you think of a dog bone, it's like this sort of shape. That combined with their new Protex corners, which are kind of like what we saw on the 1S, where you get a bit of textured grip on the corners, make this a really good stick for stick handling, shooting. I really enjoyed how it felt. It's kind of strange how when technologies work really well, especially in sticks, sometimes you don't really notice them. That was the best thing about this. I didn't really notice it. I just knew that the stick felt comfortable and I never had any issues with gripping it. By creating a third line of sticks, with this sitting between the Dynasty and the QRL, Warrior are hoping this is going to be their most flexible stick. They're very confident that this is the reason their NHL population's increased. They've gone from like the low hundreds to somewhere in the 200 range now. By putting this between the QRL and the Dynasty line, Warrior are hoping to have this as their most versatile stick. They're going to hit the most people and they're going to hit anybody who doesn't need the two extremes, super low kick point or a really high mid kick. So from everything I've heard and everything I've read, Warrior are very, very excited about this model. Warrior are attributing their recent rise in NHL player representation mainly down to this stick. They've gone from low hundreds to over 200 players using Warrior sticks. But notable players like Cam Atkinson and Brad Marchand have both changed from a previous stick supplier to this supplier in the season. And you'll notice several other pros using it: Leon Draisaitl, Max Pacioretty, Johnny Gaudreau, just to name a few. In review, I really enjoyed using this stick. I mean, it's very responsive. It does exactly what it's intended to do. It's an incredibly quick releasing low kick point stick. But more than my review, the fact that top tier NHLers are changing over to this from other brands and having, in some cases, we're looking at you, Cam Atkinson, breakout years, that should be enough of a recommendation for anybody. So Warrior have brought along this third line, and you might be well entitled to say, why have they done this? Basically, people need something that's a little bit less extreme than the high kick on the Dynasty and a little bit less extreme than the ultra low kick on the QRL. The QRL, for guys like me, perfect, really enjoyed using it, definitely didn't get it to its absolute maximum. NHL players, they're finding situations where that stick's too soft, where the Dynasty is a bit too stiff. So that's why we have the Alpha. Low kick point, but hopefully the hosel is stiff enough that you won't see any blade flexion when you're in puck battles. Yet the kick point's still high enough that slap shots are going to be effective, maybe not with quite the clap bomb you're going to get with the Dynasty, but you're still looking at a lot of power without sacrificing any puck feel. Okay, so personal opinion on this stick. I really enjoyed using it. I think the balance between having a super low kick point and a medium kick point, just being in the middle, makes it really accessible. I found it really easy to load, which is 99% the reason they built the stick in the first place. I'm not a strong guy. This is a 75. I probably snap better shots with this than any other stick I've used before. The feel of it's great. The puck handling's great. Overall, couldn't recommend it enough. Whether you're a guy who only takes slap shots or only takes wrist shots or mixes it up, this stick responded really well to everything that I could throw at it. I would definitely recommend getting one. So this was our review of the Warrior Alpha QX. I hope you guys enjoyed it. A big thank you to Warrior Hockey UK for setting us up with the stick. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and hopefully see you next time. Hey y'all. You know, want to look at the camera?